Well, a ton to get to this morning. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk. Happy Thursday, 6/11. It's the final day of scheduled session, and a lot expected, including starting at 8 o'clock this morning. We've got a hearing in the Illinois House about changes that the Senate's proposing to the Safety Act, and in particular, the Pretrial Fairness Act, which ends cash bail statewide. That's how it is right now, starting January 1st, but we've got 1 day left of scheduled session for state lawmakers in this calendar year to bring about changes, all while we've got an ongoing lawsuit from state's attorneys and sheriffs across the state consolidated out of Kankakee County. That'll be heard next week on December 5th, and then you've got a ruling expected the following week. I think check that date. It might be December 7th. I got to double check that. But that's going to be next week in Kankakee County. But then after that, a week after, you're expecting a ruling, could go to the Supreme Court. But are we going to see the changes at the Illinois State House to the Pretrial Fairness Act provision of the Safety Act quell any of the concerns there are from the sheriffs and others not too keen on the idea of letting people go who are arrested for certain crimes? So yesterday, it was trickling out that the day before, late in the day, some state senators filed an amendment to a House bill that's already passed the House, so it's in the Senate. So procedurally, this allows them to modify that House bill in the Senate, then kick it back over to the House for concurrence, and then off to the governor before January 1st and the implementation of the Pretrial Fairness Act. It'd be interesting to see what kind of vote thresholds they get and if they're able to get Republicans on board with these changes. So what are the changes? It's a 300-page plus bill. And some of the elements do indeed lay out what kinds of crimes and severe crimes are going to be allowed for denial of pretrial release. There's also some change of language that removes the provision of, the person can be held if they're a direct threat to a person. They changed that to persons. So lumping in a lot of people and really making it more clear as to if somebody is an imminent threat to others, then they can be held pending trial. But of course, this is all around the idea that you are innocent until proven guilty. And by being innocent until proven guilty, you shouldn't have to languish behind bars. However, the whole bail system, the way it's set up, is to make you have some skin in the game so that you actually show up to your court date and go through the criminal justice process. And if you are found innocent, then you get your bail back. That's how it works. But you're supposed to put money in and then say, I've got this money here. You're holding that until I come back and this is all sorted out. But a lot of advocates for pretrial fairness, they ultimately say that people of lesser means languish behind bars while people who have means can commit crimes and get out on bail. So this, of course, was a measure passed by the previous General Assembly back in January of 2021, passed in the early morning hours in the Senate, and then was kicked over to the House where it passed there in the final hours of the previous General Assembly. Well, now we're at the tail end of the current General Assembly, the current 2-year term. Again, passed back in January of 2021. We've gone through nearly 2 years now, and here we are with implementation preparing to happen January 1st. And there's a lot of concerns about public safety with how the language of the bill is laid out. So I talked with a couple of individuals who've been watching this closely and getting their take on what the bill is. And we'll hear from State Senator Scott Bennett and State Senator Jason Plummer. And Bennett in particular, he weeks ago had filed a measure to bring about some changes to the Safety Act and the pretrial fairness provision. And those changes were opposed by supporters of the Safety Act. But what's important to note here is Bennett now has signed on to a piece of legislation with State Senator Robert Peters. Robert Peters out of Chicago. He opposed Bennett's original changes, but the two coming together on this, including State Senator L.G. Sims as a sponsor, indicates that this is something that's got some support amongst moderate Democrats and progressive Democrats. Again, the House is going to hear about it at 8 o'clock this morning and then 9 o'clock this morning. The Senate's going to hear about it. So you can imagine that it's going to, like a domino, just boom, 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 boom. It's going to be pretty rapid moving as to what happens with the SAFE-T Act and possible changes. But let's go ahead and hear from State Senator Scott Bennett and also State Senator Jason Plummer about changes that they see or haven't seen yet. Because, again, this was yesterday, just hours after a 300-page bill was dropped. Here's State Senator Scott Bennett.
What we're trying to do is talk to the people, public defenders, and state attorneys and judges who actually will be dealing after January 1 with the in-courthouse portion of this bill and making sure that the bill's got the specifics in there that help them do what they need to do to implement the bill. I think it just kind of talks about how far we've come in our negotiations. We have had all these different groups represented in these daily Zoom conversations and in-person conversations, and we just keep whittling down what started as a lot of issues to language that everybody gets something they want, but nobody gets everything they want.
So Bennett talking about the 300 pages of legislation that is being amended to the SAFE-T Act and the Pretrial Fairness Act, and it does a whole host of things. It does add for denial of pretrial release, murder, arson, sexual assault of a child, robbery, home invasion. I mean, it goes through a litany of severe crimes that are now crimes that are eligible for denying pretrial release. It also has some interesting elements in there about police body cameras, modifying, I think, the implementation date there. The language I saw included allowing for 6 months or so before it's fully implemented, but starting January 1st, police departments have to have the purchase plan and all of that for implementing body cameras. But there's also an interesting thing in the act about information that can be released to the media. And in particular, information about, the booking photo, the charges, the individual, where it happened, the dates, and so on. Those can still be released. But what's not going to be released under the amendment is conditions of the individual's pretrial release. That was scratched out of the law. So media won't be able to get that particular information about the circumstances or the conditions for somebody to be released from jail. I asked Senator Bennett about that particular issue, and then right after that, you'll hear State Senator Jason Plummer react to another late hour, 300-plus page bill drop.
Well, I think the argument is there's certain information that we want to make available to the defense counsel, but then there's still privacy issues for people who have not been convicted of a crime yet. And so we have to balance those two issues of privacy with also making sure they can defend themselves at that hearing.
Apparently the majority party in Springfield doesn't believe in transparency. They don't believe in public input. And so there's this lack of confidence in how we do things in Springfield. We need to restore trust with the people of Illinois, and the way you do that is not by waiting until the last minute and dropping large documents that people aren't going to read. The court case in Kankakee will come out. Who knows if this will address the issues that the voters care about? Who knows if it will address the issues that are in question in the court case? I hope we find out soon. But this is really consequential legislation. We're not talking about a random $25 fee here. This is going to impact people's lives, and legislators need to take it more seriously.
So again, State Senator Scott Bennett and State Senator Jason Plummer talking about this legislation. I've got an analysis of other things that this does. We'll get to that next and maybe get some of your reaction here at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. Stay tuned. That's coming up here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News. Well, we're back talking about the SAFE-T Act and the pretrial fairness provision, a 300-plus page bill to amend the SAFE-T Act. It's going to be heard in the House and then the Senate, likely passed in the Senate, then back to the House before they close up session today. But what's all in it? A bunch of different analysis. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, Bishop On Air, and you can see the story I posted where you can follow through to a link. And this link will take you to the 300-plus page bill where you can go and check that out. And if you're following along on Facebook Live, you'll be able to see, this just kind of the stuff I have to do when I pour through legislation. So it's 300-plus pages, and it's just double spaced, and you're going through. And when you look at legislation, one thing you got to do is look for what's underlined and what's crossed out. And you could see some of the underlining and crossing of out of things. And in particular, I wanted to go to page 219, where it talks about denial of pretrial release. And it talks about what kinds of other forcible felonies that are eligible for denying pretrial release. And it explicitly says the defendant's pretrial release poses a real and present threat to the safety of any person or persons or the community based on the specific articulable facts of the case, and the defendant's charged with a forcible felony, which, as used in this section, means treason, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, aggravated criminal sexual assault, armed robbery, aggravated robbery, robbery, burglary, where there is use of force against other person, residential burglary, home invasion, aggravated kidnapping. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on from there. But what's interesting is that's language that's added, which I think goes to the argument of those who opposed the Safety Act, saying it was too open-ended. And something that, they're ultimately now having to inject into the law, this litany of different crimes. Again, this is something that's going to be discussed today. We'll see what exactly happens and how lawmakers go about making these changes. There's, 300 plus pages of this. There are other elements dealing with what we talked about yesterday of warrants for failure to appear. It does modify that to a degree and, again, injects new language to somehow kind of control that. And making sure that people do show up to court and aren't just given open-ended, hey, you got to come back and tell us why you didn't show up to the court date. Okay, tell us why you didn't show up to the court date. Here's your new court date. Okay, you didn't show up to that court date. Come back and tell us why you didn't show up to that court date. You got a new court. It limits that. It restricts that. So we'll watch this closely, bring you the latest. We may dip in live to a House hearing that's set to start at 8. But listen, I go to the legislature each and every day at the State House when they're in, and they never are on time for anything. They have a scheduled start time of 10 o'clock for people to come into the House, and then it's like 11:30 before they actually even do anything. Same thing with committees. There was a committee that was supposed to start yesterday at 2, and that didn't start until like 2:45. So we'll see if we can get you any of the latest debate in the changes to the Safety Act live in the 8 o'clock hour whenever the Illinois House goes in to deal with these things. All right, it is Springfield's Morning News. You can always follow me, Bishop on Air, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's how we can connect. I do have a package that I got. I don't know. You know what? I'll just go ahead and open this right now. Why not? If you find the radio station's address, WMAY.com, surely you can find it. You'll be able to send me stuff as well. This looks like it comes from somebody with the name Wilson. Let's see if I can. I don't know what this is. Is there a pair of scissors or a knife or anything? I'll just rip it with my teeth. That's probably not good. My dentist not probably keen on that. All right. Who knows what's on this package, by the way? Gosh. It's a UPS bubble package. This is the most intense bubble package I think I've ever... All right, here we go. All right. What do we got? Oh, okay. It's some kind of... Oh, look at this. That's gorgeous. It's Real Men Wear Pink. An ambassador little award. That's great. Presented to Greg Bishop, Ambassador 2022. Awesome. Hey, that's fantastic. And of course, I got a little note here as well. So I'll read that during the break. But I was able to raise close to $3,000, I think, for Real Men Wear Pink in the month of October. And without the help from you out there, we couldn't make it happen. Big shout out to Heartland Hearing. Better Hearing starts today. They donated $500, and also Kahn Hospitality. The Kahn's family, they helped pay for not just my campaign, but some of the other individuals here at the radio station. So that's a neat little recognition there. I'm gonna have to put that up on my mantle at home. Very nice. All right, Real Men Wear Pink. See if we can go above and beyond next year. All right. Stay tuned. Much more coming up here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News.